Hey everyone, welcome to this week. We're going to look at expressions of cause and then closer look at a reading. This is from your textbook explaining expressions of cause. The one thing to keep in mind is that what we're talking about is phrases, not clauses. And what I mean by that is phrases are going to be prepositions without a verb. So because of. Things like that. Clauses would be like, because I went to the store, I spent all my money, right? Because I went to the store is a clause. It has a verb. It has a subject. Phrases is because of my shopping, I didn't have any more money. So because of my shopping, no verb, no action, right? Just a preposition and an object. All right. So anyway, what Latin does, right, is it has the ablative without a preposition, which is known as the ablative of cause. Now, there's a good amount of overlap with the ablative of means in terms of the ablative of cause, and we'll take a look at that on kind of the next slide. All right, and the book sort of lays that out for you as well. All right. Ultimately, it's going to be up to you, kind of whatever works better in a given context. There's some prepositions that deal with cause, and they are listed here. These take the ablative, and these take the accusative. All right. De tends to be translated as for. Propter and ob tends to be translated as because of. All right. And then causa gratia, which kind of look like prepositions in that they have a genitive to go with them. They're really just ablatives of nouns, and the genitive is just a straight genitive. But they end up being translated for the sake of or because of, and you can see that there. All right. Excuse me. So just some things to kind of be aware of. There's nothing necessarily new here except for the ablative of cause. All right, the rest are just sort of straight translations, maybe slight variations on how those are translated. Okay, so in terms of the ablative of cause and the ablative of means, all right, both have no preposition. That's to some extent what makes them kind of confusing or gives them some overlap. The ablative of cause answers the question why, looking back, right? Because of what did this happen? The ablative of means answers the question how. How did something happen? All right. They're both going to use kind of nouns / things more often than not. They can, of course, be a person, but they will tend to sort of involve nouns or things. Excuse me. And ultimately, you're just going to have to use context / sense to know which is going to work. And sometimes they can both work, and that's okay. There is a certain amount of ambiguity here, especially when there is no preposition involved. And part of learning Latin and really any language is becoming familiar and comfortable with that idea of ambiguity. All right, so let's take a look at an example kind of along those lines. I think we've seen this one before. This is the motto of my son's high school. And so we've got res parvae, bad color, res parvae, all right, concordia crescunt. And so concordia is the ablative, all right? So little things, all right, res parvae, that is our subject. So little things crescunt, grow, all right? Well, do they grow by means of harmony, concordia, or do they grow because of harmony? Even in English, there isn't much of a distinction there, but it is a good illustration of this overlap between the ablative of cause and the ablative of means. So do they grow because of harmony, or do they grow by means of harmony? And again, neither of these is right, making the other one wrong, and neither of these is wrong, making the other one right. They both really can work. It becomes an issue of interpretation. And that's okay, right? As I said, you can choose either one of these depending on kind of which you prefer, which you think sort of expresses the idea better. This is that ambiguity we were talking about in the last slide. All right, so here's an expressions of cause text. So we're just going to finish off this translation. This is from Virgil's Aeneid, which I think, as we've talked about, is kind of the quintessential Roman epic poem, sort of overseen, helped out by the Emperor Augustus. In many ways, it was Virgil, the author, Virgil the poet, his attempt to codify Rome's sort of empire and imperialistic nature. All right, and Aeneas, the Trojan hero, who eventually goes on to at least establish the people who had found Rome. He doesn't found Rome directly himself. Aeneas recounts the fall of Troy as part of the Aeneid, and this is from that. All right. So often the Greeks wanted to feign flight by leaving Troy behind and to leave tired. The Greeks wanted to leave tired. Why did they want to leave? They wanted to leave longo bello. So because of the long war. All right, and note that this really does not overlap the apple of means. They're not leaving by means of the long war. The long war is not the agent, the driver of them leaving, right? It is the cause of them leaving. All right, so often the Greeks wanted to feign flight by leaving Troy behind and to leave tired because of the long war. All right, and so that's a nice illustration of not only the ablative cause in general, but also one of those times when the ablative cause does not overlap the ablative of means. All right, here's another one from Ovid's Metamorphoses. This is kind of a mythological text. If you've seen mythological stories in art, there's a good chance that it comes from Ovid's Metamorphoses. And this is from the story of Apollo and Daphne. Essentially, Apollo is in love with Daphne. Daphne is not in love with him. She flees, he chases, and eventually she asks her father to help, and he helps by turning her into a laurel tree, which Apollo then adopts as his kind of symbol. This particular passage is from a simile, that Ovid uses to describe the chase. All right, so in other words, here in number 1, Ovid identifies both Apollo and Daphne as Caler. Quick, why is Apollo Caler? Why is Daphne Caler? And so if we look at the text, if we head into the text, all right, so there is Caler there. All right, so this one, all right, Apollo. So quick because of hope. All right, so Apollo, quick because of hope. Daphne, and note that this is masculine and this is feminine. Daphne, quick understood because of fear. And so in each of these, the ablative here, spe, and timore, is working off of Caler. Caler is in charge of those ablatives. So again, this one, Apollo, quick because of hope. That one, Daphne, quick because of fear. And again, those ablatives explaining the cause of, in this case, the quickness. All right, so we're just going to finish off these translations. This is from Bacchus and Philemon. All right, kind of the classic gods come to Earth to sort of test humans. Most of them fail, and Bacchus and Philemon are the ones that eventually pass. All right, and so this is they're killing their goose, their only goose, because they figured out that gods are in their midst. All right, so again, same actual kind of phrasing, same actual word. All right, so here, the goose, quick. All right, why is it quick? Because of its wings, because of its feathers. All right, and then it tires, Bacchus and Philemon, that's understood there. All right, Bacchus and Philemon, who are slow, aitate, because of their age. All right, so because of its wings and because of their age. All right, and again, the hard part is there's nothing in those ablatives to indicate that it is definitely an ablative of cause, but in these instances, the ablative makes the most sense. All right, so we'll take a little time to take a look at this reading, changing gears a little bit, but every few chapters you have this kind of bonus reading. All right, and remember that it's always good to sort of read through the Latin first to kind of get a sense of what you have, what you know, what you don't know, things like that. All right, so Germani, reges, ex nobilitate, duces, ex virtute legunt. And a couple of things to kind of point out or to notice as we're going through. One of the most important things is what's called parallel structure. And that's when you have sort of the same words or the same phrases or the same constructions in multiple clauses. So you can see here that we have a nominative and then followed by ex nobilitate, and then a nominative followed by ex virtute. And of course you've got the two nominatives who happen to have the same ending, which makes life a little easier. And then you've also got ex plus an ablative. All right, and that is going to be useful for sort of structuring the sentence. So Germani is just an adjective agreeing with reges. So the German kings, All right, Germani, reges. So legen here is choose. That's going to be our verb for both clauses. German kings. All right. Or sorry, my fault. I made a mistake. So actually, Germani is the nominative, reges and duces are the accusative. All the parallel stuff is still the same. I just messed up the cases. So the Germans choose their reges, their kings, all right, because of nobility, right, because of their kind of aristocracy, their aristocratic bearing. The Germans choose their leaders because of courage. All right. And so again, the parallel structure, really, you just got nominative, verb, object, ablative. You've just got that repeated twice. So the Germans choose their kings because of their nobility. They choose their leaders because of their courage. All right. So keeping going. Nec regibus infinita aut libera potestas et duces exemplo potius quam imperio agant. All right. So potestas is definitely a nominative. That's a third declension, one of those as atis nouns. So maybe I'm going to label that. Now it's also feminine, which likely means that infinita and libera agree with it, and that out connects the two of them. So that's going to be one unit. And my guess is that regibus is going to be involved in that just by virtue of the fact that it's sort of placed there and a bit isolated by those words. So neither is there. Let's try that. We might have to revise that as we go. Neither is there unlimited or kind of free, unlimited again, power for the kings. Neither do the kings have unlimited or free reign. All right, and regibus is the dative of possession, but you can say it either way. Neither do the kings have, or neither is there for the kings. All those things. All right. And the leaders, duces, and the leaders, all right, rule, agant, all right, by example more than by power. So in other words, the leaders are the ones, and these are kind of like the generals. So meaning they're out there fighting with their men. They're not just sort of ordering from behind the lines and sort of expecting people to follow. All right, so there isn't unlimited power for the kings, and the leaders lead, all right, by example more than by power, by force. All right, so si ante aciem pugnant, got a verb and a comma. That probably means that's going to be one clause. So if they fight, all right, in front of the battle line, all right, they lead through admiration, all right, by means of admiration. All right, and then fugias, all right, oh, sorry, effigias, my fault, I read it wrong. All right, they carry, portant, symbols, signs, right, and symbols, all right, from their sacred forest, all right, into battle. So these are sort of like kills, sacrifices, whatever, that they think are going to help them. All right. They offer literally, but they bring kind of wounds to mothers and to wives. All right. And those women, females, all right, are afraid to count or to demand to see, all right, the wounds. All right. Oh, sorry. I think I left out the neck. They're not afraid, which makes more sense, to count or to see the wounds. So in other words, the men fight. If they get wounded, they come home. The women take care of them, and the women are fine with this. The women are not sort of put off by the violence. All right. They give food and encouragement to the soldiers. So kind of a team effort. All right, so let's take eliminatives. All right, this is another passage from the book. This is about Aeneas, whom we talked about earlier in the thing, although in a different text. All right, and I think on the next slide, oh no, I had one with the vocab. More vocab, I should say. All right, so tandem Greci Troiam longum post bellum superant. One thing to watch out for is things like this, right? Greci Troiam, you might think those go together, but you can see that Greci Troiam have different cases. So Greci is nominative, plural. Trium is accusative singular. All right, so just be careful of things that may look like they go together, but the cases say otherwise. So finally, the Greeks overcome Troy. All right, so finally, the Greeks overcome Troy after a long war. All right, and longum post bellum is a prepositional phrase that goes together. All right, Aeneas, Filius Anchisae, ex urbe fuget, et multis cum sociis ad partem Italiae navigat. All right, so Aeneas is a subject. It's a little funky with that as ending. You can see that down here. So just be careful of that. It's just the way the word works, that happens to be its nominative. So this is a nominative singular. So Aeneas, the son of Anchises, flees from the city, all right, and sails with many friends, many comrades, to a part of Italy. All right, now I'll leave the rest. That's the writing, right? Yeah, okay. You. All right, here is the writing. We're translating the sentences into Latin, the English sentences into Latin. All right, so we are attacking part of the city with fire. So, pugnamus, we are attacking partem urbis, part of the city. Now, here's the part I want to kind of focus on. That's why I did those other ones fairly quickly. So, with fire, right, your first instinct is to translate with into Latin, to have a Latin word for with. But you have to think about what that's expressing, and so what kind of ablative that's going to be in Latin. So with fire, how are we going to attack the city? By means of fire. That's going to be the ablative of means. The ablative of means does not use a preposition, so it's just going to be igne. All right, so we attack this part of the city, partem urbis, with fire, just igne. All right, something like cum igne. Cum is the word for with. In Latin, the preposition for with, that is the ablative of accompaniment, says something very different from what the ablative of means says. All right, so same thing in number 3. All right, so good leaders, so boni, duces, semper, agunt. All right, and then with justice. Now, in this case, you could make the argument that it is an ablative of manner, which can take the preposition cum, all right, or you can leave the preposition cum out. It's sort of optional with the ablative of manner. Sometimes they use it, sometimes they don't. So anyway, in that case, you can get away with using the preposition cum, but you can also skip it if you want. All right, I will leave the rest for you. That is all for this week. Have a good one, and I will be here next week. Please email me with any questions. Thanks.